Hello, and welcome to the Road to Rookie. Today is the very first day of the official Street Fighter VI release, and I thought that as a brand new player to, not necessarily fighting games, but to Street Fighter in particular, and Street Fighter VI, I think that it would be fun to have an actual new player's perspective on the things that you should do first, from what I felt. You know, you've got a lot of experienced players, and that's great, but they come from a world where the things that I am experiencing right now, they haven't experienced for potentially decades. So, you know, their experience is different from mine. I have scoured the internet for the things you should be doing first, and I have not seen a single one of them yet that told you the actual first thing that you'll have to do as a brand new player to Street Fighter. And that is, after going through a couple of, like EULA agreements and the standard fare for every new video game out there, the game is going to tell you that until you create a Capcom ID, you do not have access to any online features. So, what you're going to want to do is go to cid.capcom.com. It should default to your correct language, and go through the process. You're going to have to type in some information, verify an email with a link, standard stuff, and then you're going to reach this point where you have your account, which is here. You can see I've set mine up, and you're going to have to link your Capcom ID to your applicable account. Obviously mine is Steam. Now, a word to the wise here. The website is pretty good at making a pretty big warning for this, but it bears repeating. Once you have made this link, it cannot be undone. So if you have only one Steam account and you just made your first Capcom ID, this is not really an issue. Just link it up and you'll be good to go. But if you've got multiple Steam accounts or multiple Capcom IDs for whatever reason, once you have set up this link, you cannot change it. So if you have another one that you would want to link later on that had other information that you want, too bad. So make sure that when you're doing this linking, you're paying attention to that. Once that is done, the next thing that I would suggest is going to the menu here, the options menu, and setting up whatever defaults you want. So there's audio. I think that the master volume is probably going to be too loud for videos at 10 for the most part. Let's put it at 8. And I also earlier changed some of the graphics. So when I went to the graphics, I saw that it was on windowed mode, and it looked like this. So you can see it's not even fully all the way on each side. It's got this tiny little, like, 1/16 of an inch border on 3 sides. It's got this obnoxious header, and I thought that all of that was horrible, and I didn't want it. So instead, I did this, and I fixed it up. Obviously, there are other controls and other things that you can do, so go through them, check out the things that you want, and just kind of make the game comfy. That's the best place to start, I think, because if you haven't done this, you're just not going to have as good of an experience with everything else. Then, obviously, you know, Road to Rookie is kind of a meme, because Rookie is where you start no matter what, but in my eyes, until you have actually picked up the controller and gone into an official ranked match, you are not even a rookie, right? And that's where we are. And that's where we're going to be for probably the rest of today. Because what I would suggest after this is, even if you're planning on going into ranked mode and having fun there, there's plenty of things to do, right? I need to make an avatar in World Tour. I need to go check out the Battle Hub and watch that hilarious intro again. The Fighting Ground has got the arcade story mode in it. It's got some mini games in it if you're enjoying stuff like that. You think that that's fun. You just go around and find some stuff that you think is fun. And then the last thing that I would say you want to do is pick the character that you are planning to learn the game with. So that, to me, is a far cry from a main. But you want to pick a character that you think you'll enjoy, that you're going to have fun with. If you already know who that is, great. If not, Capcom released this hilarious BuzzFeed quiz, and I figured it would be fun to take it to see what character I want. So again, I will go through my thought process here real quick, but it's mostly going to be a way that I want to learn the game. So I agree with the Brian F. video of how to get out of bronze. So the first thing you want to be able to do is control your character. So that means our control type is important, and picking a character that we can be consistent with, no matter who it is, doesn't matter. But picking a character that I'm going to go back to and I'm going to know their moves again and again is going to help with this process. And that is part of the reason why you pick a main, but in this case it's just going to pick a character that we want to learn the game with. Because having to relearn that every time makes it so that learning the actual game becomes pretty tough, because you're essentially fighting against yourself half the time by not pressing the right buttons. So we're going to pick a character and a control type that we think is good. It's going to be modern. I'm just going to pick modern. I'll probably change to classic because that's what I am used to, but I think that modern is a great way to learn how the modern system works, and it'll put me on a more even playing field, because I'm not going to know what modern buttons do any better than anybody else, and I'm not going to be much better at them than anybody else, even with classic experience, because they won't be the same inputs I'm used to. So let's begin this quiz with an eye on two things: anti-airing and punishing bad habits. So those are basically the two things that Brian F. talks about in his video that aren't controlling your character. The first one is, be able to do your moves. Modern is going to help us out a lot with that, so that's why we're picking it. The other ones are be able to anti-air and be able to punish your opponent for making bad mistakes. Those are the similar vein things. Jumping isn't necessarily wrong, but jumping a lot is. So I want to pick a character that's going to let me essentially allow my opponent to make a bunch of mistakes. Usually in fighting games, being proactive is better, so you would want to use pokes and close the gap between yourself and your opponent, and that would be the ideal, because any good fighting game rewards the proactive player more, thus encouraging actually fighting in your fighting game. But right now, that's not what we're worried about. We aren't worried about learning our own character outside of knowing what their moves are and how to do them. We're just worried about keeping our distance, seeing what our opponent does, and punishing them for doing bad things. So, which of these things do I prioritize? Do I want to rush my opponent down and secure a victory right away? No, right? I want to abuse my opponent's mistakes. And to do that, I need to prevent them from controlling my movement, because that way I'll be able to go where I need to punish the mistakes they make. Alright, so it's led to a stalemate. Okay, so let's assume for a moment that I have anti-aired them 10 times in a row, or I've done a counter drive impact. That's going to be the big thing to learn here. I've done a counter drive impact 3 or 4 times in a row, and now they've realized, oh, I should do something else because I'm just getting smoked for that. What do I want to do then? I don't think that baiting and dodging my opponent makes sense. I think closing the gap and finishing them off afterwards is the reward for me. Now, this could change depending upon who you are, but for me, this is what I consider to be a reward. Oh, I've won the neutrals. I've made it so that they aren't just doing dumb stuff in neutral anymore because they realize they're just going to lose. Time to go in. Even matched, but they... Okay, how do you make a comeback, essentially, right? Yeah. So do I want to use my gimmicks? Or do I want to use the things that I learned in the first round so that I can punish them the second round? Pretty simple. Alright. Which of these things describes the ideal you? Okay, I ramp things up in the second half and get more aggressive. Okay, to a degree this works out fine, because the idea would be that you read them and figure out the things that you can punish in the first half, and in the second half you just lean into that and destroy them for it. And I think that that's really strong and good. And the other one is I remain in control and prefer a more consistent and stable approach. For now, I am going to say that I just want to sit there and anti them 16 more times. I just want to get consistent. I want to be stable. I want to know that I am learning these basics and just do them over and over and over and over again. And if my opponent realizes that and stops, then I run in and beat them real quick, and then I move on with my life. But if they don't, I just want to do it over and over and over again. All right, so the game, the BuzzFeed quiz tells me that I should play Chun-Li. All right. What do we want to do? I want me and my opponent to get to know one another through battle? Right, so I want to know what things that they're doing, and I want to punish the heck out of them for it. Perfect. But we are going to change this from road to rookie to road to higher ranks. So it's not just having fun and enjoying the match. I definitely want to do that, but I will be practicing. I will be surprising them eventually with stuff I can do, even with the character that I choose first, which is very unlikely to stay my main. Alright, cool. I was worried that it was going to give me dynamic, in which case I'd have to pick modern, because modern is the closest thing to dynamic you can do, but this is going to be the character that I start with. Obviously, I think you get like a Luke clone in World Tour, so that's also a really good option, because you'll have played World Tour Luke, essentially. But for me, I'm going to set up my avatar now. I'm going to go watch the intro to Battle Hub, see what it has to offer. I'm going to go play the arcade mode. I'm going to go check out what Chun-Li's moves are in the training mode, just so that I know what buttons do what in modern. I'm going to find my anti-airs. And then I'll go from there and see what things I want to do. And then I'll start looking at the ranked. And when we are back with a Chun-Li that is ready to become a rookie, I hope to see you there.